Hey, happy Friday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I hope all is going great with you. Everything's great in my neck of the woods. Thank you so much for asking, because I know you asked. I know you did. I can feel it. Can you believe that we are, 3 weeks, well on to week 4 of 2018? How amazing is that? So I'd love to hear, let me know in the comments, what are your plans for 2018? What you got going? What you want to create? I'd love to know. I want to share in it with you because I think 2018 is going to be amazing for us. I can just feel it. I feel it all up in here, all up in my spirit. I won't hold you too long, so let me get on with it. So today, I actually came up with this because I was talking to one of my best friends about my dad. I don't even know how we got on the topic of this, but I was talking to her about how he struggled to accept once he made it. And again, and the reason he struggled is because there was a mindset shift that needed to take place. He needed to go from the lack mentality to that of abundance. And it was a slow climb for him to get there. And the thing about when you have a lack mentality, it shows up in a couple of different ways. You're so used to struggling, you're so used to having to force and grind to make it happen that once you start to coast, you're like, what is this? I don't understand what this is. What? I don't have to fight. Well, I ain't had to fight nobody. And that was one of the things that I saw in my dad. Once he'd gotten to a point where we were okay, he couldn't handle it. And he's talked about this, when he was alive. And I've shared this with you all. My dad grew up poor. And for the most part, so did I. I didn't grow up as poor as he did. Because there's levels to this. But he and my mom, they didn't have money when I was growing up. But it was when I was about 16. That's when we started moving on up like the Jeffersons. Moving on up. Okay, anyway. And it was very difficult for him to grasp that we didn't have to struggle anymore. Yes, he liked, being able to buy things and do things, but there was still a mentality that came with it. Like he was so used to having to hustle, to grind. So when things started coming to him, even though that was what he worked for, even though he said, I'm going to get to this point, the reality of it hitting was just like, wait a minute, hold on. Y'all calling me because y'all want me? Like, I don't have to fight and prove. I gotta fight nobody. I ain't gotta tell nobody F you because you won't get, it was a very, very difficult thing for him to grasp. But when you are so used to not having, when you're so used to thinking that that you have to struggle to make it, happen, you expect it. You look to struggle. You create struggle where there needn't be any. And all you have to do is be easy with yourself, because the struggle ain't real. The struggle ain't real. The uncomfortability is absolutely real. The uncomfortability is definitely real. And that's not to say that hardships and everything aren't real, but this idea that you need to struggle in order to get to the abundance, that ain't real. But when you don't have, when you're operating from that space of lack, you believe that that's true. The other thing that I saw in my dad was that it was difficult for him to receive when he did start to get it. What I mean by that is, like I said, he liked buying things, but even in buying things, he kind of felt like he had to flim-flam to do it. And everything for a good while, everything was brand new. Everything was about, I just bought that. Didn't matter how old it was. Case in point, when I went to college, I was 17 when I left for college. And my parents bought a house right when I left for college. The couple sold them the washer and dryer that they'd had. It was an old washer and dryer. I can't remember how long the washer and dryer went out. But when it did and my mom was ready to buy a new one, he pitched a fit. And his argument was, that's a brand new washer and dryer. You ain't got no business. What'd you do to it? And we had to tell him, sir, it's new to you because you just bought it. But these people been in this house for like 20 years. This washer and dryer probably been with them almost that long. This ain't new. That's why they was like, here, you can have it. I don't even think they sold it to him, matter of fact. I think they just were like, here, you can have it. Take that with you. Another thing he did, when I was 20, I came home with my roommate from college. And we'd gone to the movies. And he quickly ushered us over to the corner. Y'all go over there in the corner. And he went to the box office and said, hey, 2 adults and 2 children, please. And my roommate looks at me and goes, did I just hear your dad correctly? Did he just ask for 2 children? I've been 5'9" a long time, y'all. I was 5'9", my roommate was 5'9". There wasn't no way anybody was thinking we were children. But he was so used to doing that. We'd gone to dinner and he would have us still putting crackers and hot sauce and ketchup packets in our purses. And it took him years to grasp, we don't gotta do that no more, man. But that's what happens when you have a lack mentality. I guess my dog wanted y'all to know he don't have a lack mentality. I don't know. But when you have that lack mentality, you can't receive. It's very difficult for you to receive things that are coming in. And it's not just financially. I just really have just kind of gotten over this myself in terms of just receiving good and love from people. Matter of fact, maybe not I don't even want to say it's been 2 years. I was talking with a friend of mine because whenever anything would happen and I needed help, I would not ask for help. I wouldn't. I was convinced no one cared and no one would show up for me. And yet time and time again, people would. And everyone would be upset with me and ask me, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you ask? Janice, we can't help you if you don't open your mouth and ask. And I would give the same response. I didn't know. I didn't know. And then everyone would get upset and say the same thing. You know, we love you. We know we got you. And everyone was mad at me. And I was talking to the same friend who I was talking about my dad. And she said to me, girl, you know, because there's a certain way that only a good friend can talk to you. And by that point, I could see I had pissed her off. So that's what she said to me. She said, girl, what do we have to do to prove to you that we love you and we've got you? And while there was a disconnect in me being able to receive the love that everyone had for me, I was very connected enough to understand and to be able to tell her, there's nothing you all can do. I have to get it for myself until I can get to a space where I can receive it and trust that you all love me. There's nothing you all can do. You all can fight till you're blue in the face. You can smack me around. You can do whatever, you know. Well, you can't smack me around. But I mean, you know, you get my point. But you all can drive yourselves batty trying to prove it. But until I know it, until I can accept it, it's as Joey from Friends said, moo. And that's part of having that lack mentality. You cannot receive because you're convinced that there's nothing to receive. Or if there is something to receive, it's in the negative category. And I saw that play out in myself and in my dad. I've seen it play out in my other friends. I'm sorry if you all could hear my dog walking across the floor. He waits till now. And like I said, I think he's letting y'all know his name is Beanie and he don't have no lack mentality, okay? But yeah, it's a space of you're operating in a deficit. And there's nothing you can do because you can't see anything else. It's literally like walking around with blinders. And all you see is the lack, the obstacles. And it doesn't matter that if it only happens 1 out of every 45 moments, you can't see the other 44 moments that are happening because they're happening over here on the other side of the blinders. Or if you do catch one, you're convinced it's a fluke. Yeah, you showed up for me this time, but that was just a fluke. You just took pity on me. Next time, you won't do it. Yeah, like with my dad. I mean, yeah, I made this movie. Yeah, I was able to buy this house, but I might not be able to keep this house. Or, that was his mindset, and it took a very long time for him to relinquish that lack mindset. And the other thing that I realized, and this was pre-fame, but in his rise to fame, I think back on a lot of the moments that as a kid I internalized and took as, man, he hates me, he doesn't like me, because he was so harsh. But that's because he was operating from a short fuse. Because when you're in a space of lack, everything is DEFCON 5. It's you're on a short fuse. Everything, you're walking a tightrope. That one false step you're going to fall from, and there's no net underneath to catch you. So a lot of his irritation and frustration really wasn't related to me. It was about not being able to provide, and being so frustrated and irritated that he couldn't do it. And in some ways, I wonder if he perpetuated the blocks because he was so accustomed to the lack and the struggling. I can definitely look back in my own life and see in hindsight how there were opportunities. They may not have looked like what I wanted them to look like, but they were there. But I couldn't recognize them because I was so much in a space of lack. And I'm pretty sure if you were honest with yourself, you can probably see the same thing. Now, again, I'm not sugarcoating or glossing anything. I'm not saying that there aren't hardships. I'm not saying that there aren't obstacles to overcome. I'm not saying that at all. That's not what I'm saying. So what are you saying, Janice? Thank you so much for asking. I'm so happy to tell you. What I'm saying is, don't get, when you incur an obstacle or, a struggle for a second, don't get so caught up in the web of it that you start to tell yourself this story of that this is all there ever is. Because once you start to tell yourself a story enough times, you start to believe it. And once you start to believe it, you create a self-fulfilling prophecy. It shows up in everything that you do. So one thing goes wrong. I knew it. See, I knew it. That's why I don't even bother dreaming. That's why I don't even bother hoping. Because see, look. And that's what happens when you operate from a space of lack. You miss the opportunities for abundance. You miss the ways, the many ways that it shows up. Because remember, abundance isn't just financial. It's love. It's, like I said, opportunities. It's chance encounters. It's fleeting things. I mean, sometimes finding a penny on the ground is a sign of abundance. But if you can't be happy and appreciative of that penny, you ain't got nothing else. You ain't getting more. Think about it. You got kids? Man, how many times have you looked at your kid like, I'm not getting you that because you didn't appreciate when I got that? Like, that's kind of how the universe operates with us. And so, again, I've been there, done that. So I'm not saying that this is easy, like presto, boom. But I am saying that you can do it. Just as easily as you tell yourself the story that keeps you in the space of lack, you can begin to tell yourself a new story that preps you and gets you in the space of abundance and receiving. Because I'm so learning. It's so wonderful to receive good things. It feels so much better to believe that good things are possible for me than it is to believe that they're not and that all there will ever be is lack. It feels so much better. It feels so much better. And I think in this case, we can do a little hedonism. If it feels good, do it. So just do it. Go ahead. Do it for yourself. Do it for divine. I don't even think we have divine anymore. I think that's over and done with. Anyway, I just turned 40, so if that's me showing my age, oh well. Okay, and on that note, I'm going to call it a day. Again, I hope you have an amazing day. It's a wonderful, beautiful Friday. If it's not beautiful, go make it beautiful. How about that? So, love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And until next time, bye.